Hello, welcome to Brimwood Farm and another Saturday night live stream. I know I haven't done one in a while, it's because just life has been quite hectic. But I'm really happy to be here tonight. I hope you can join me. We can have a chat and we can just get on. And my computer seems to be playing the live stream at the same time, so I'll just put that on pause. So if you haven't been here before, we're just going to have a general update on what's been going on at Brimwood Farm, a few little things that I want to point out, and then we'll go into the chat. If you're watching this on the replay and you missed the notification, hit the bell on the channel page and you will then get notified when I'm going live. And I also want to say a massive thank you, because the first video last week was a big thank you for supporting me over the past couple of years. So about this time 2 years ago, I uploaded my first ever video on a whim. I never knew it was going to kind of grow into this. And it was just, building this channel really was just a way of me filming what I was doing on my tiny plot to encourage myself. Because there's nothing like a little bit of social proof. You know, you film your video and you say you're going to do something. And if you don't put it out there, nobody knows, you can just cancel it. But doing this channel managed to keep me on track. So that has been amazing. And I also said that we were going to hit 1,500 subscribers probably by Christmas. Well, today, guys, we hit 1,500. I can't believe it. So we did it on 2nd of December. So we're way ahead, which is really good. And of course, subscriber count doesn't really mean anything, but it's just a nice rounded number for me to look at. So that was at the start of the week. I also want to do a quick call out for chicken check-ins. So if you have chickens, please go and look at the chicken check-in playlist on my YouTube channel. And if you want to get involved, please do. We're still open. I still want to travel around the world, seeing all your chickens, sharing them with everybody all over the planet. So if you want to get involved, then just go to the chicken check-in playlist, check it out. You will see what you have to do through the format, and then you can please get involved. My cat has just come in, and you may hear him screaming behind me. So the start of the week, as I said, was that thank you video. And I want to do a little bit of a special shout out here. To two of my patrons, Jay and Tyler. They are supporting me on Patreon, which is amazing. So thank you so much. And also to Liz. So last time I did a live stream, you might remember towards the end, you got a very nice view at my nostril because I was balancing my phone on a selfie stick shoved in a jar of gravel and it slipped out. Well, the very kind of Liz didn't want to see up my nostril again, so she went and got me a tripod. So it arrived a couple of days later in the post, and so now I am coming to you from this gorgeous tripod here, and we're not going to have any muck-ups. So thank you, Liz. And Liz runs a small holding vlogging channel, so she vlogs every day about life on her small holding. It's Liz Zorab. I will put a link up here or here, whichever way around we are, and you can go and check it out. So after that Monday Magic video, I was actually in Scotland this week. So if you watched Small Holding Diaries last week, you will have seen that I did a little clip about preparing the birds for going away for a couple of days, checking all their feed, topping up all the water, and just doing a test run to make sure they had enough. And so chickens are great. I wouldn't advise it with larger livestock where you do need to look after them and do, you know, at least daily chickens with sheep and cattle and things like that. But with chickens, as long as they're safe in their coop from predators and they've got light and they've got food and they've got water, you can normally get away with leaving them a couple of days. And that might even just be in these cold winter days, having to get up early in the dark for winter and not having a chance to check on them, and then you don't get home till it's dark as well. So just being able to know that they're okay is good. So with that all sorted, we went to Scotland this week. And so on Monday Magic coming up, there will be a little glimpse of Scottish scenery and Glenmore Forest and a bothy and snow and heather and forests and pines, and it was amazing. It was a 11-hour drive on the way up and a 13-hour drive on the way back, but it was worth it. And then the final thing as an update for this week was yesterday's video. Obviously it was all about the budgies, and we have 3 budgie babies. They are doing really well. Mum is being a great mum, feeding them all constantly, and I'm hoping that number 4 might hatch out tomorrow. So I will keep an eye on it. And if you've been following my Instagram feed, I've been uploading videos and little pictures of those chicks, and we'll follow them all the way through to when they fledge. Hopefully there will be 4. I'm really, really excited. I haven't managed to breed budgies in a long time, since I was a kid. So I'm really, really excited. So I have my tea, and hopefully we're going to have a good chat tonight and see who's here. So we have Gardening with AJ. Hello, AJ. Welcome to the chat. Alana is here. So I hope you're both well. AJ, I saw on Facebook you weren't feeling so great, so I hope you're feeling a little bit better now. And Alana, I hope all your papers have gone good. Charlie's here as well. Hi, Charlie. Welcome to Saturday Night Live stream with Brimwood Farm and me. And I've just thrown a load of dog treats down on the floor, and some have gone under the crate. So if you can hear scratching and sniffling in the background, it's this poor, desperate dog trying to get to like 2 treats or something that have slid under her crate and she can't get to. So, yeah, so really there's not a lot going on at the moment. It's cold and nothing else is really growing. So the terms of sort of sowing has kind of stopped. I have still got veggies in the ground. I did a Brimwood Tour vegetable tour a few weeks ago, and I had some carrots and some beetroot and kale and a few lettuces, and that's really all I've got going on in the garden at the moment. Although we are now in December, so we are only 23 days away from Christmas, which is kind of amazing. And then we'll be into January, and January we will start sowing seeds again. So as I did this year, I sowed seeds in January. I sowed peppers and aubergines in January in a heated propagator just to bring on those plants a bit early. And they worked really, really well. So I'm going to do it again this year. I'm not going to make the mistake I did last year of sowing as many seeds because what I ended up with tons and tons of seeds and young seedlings all in 2 smaller pots. So I'm going to cut the number of plants I have in half and just give them bigger pots. So that should help them grow more. So we've got Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Welcome to the house. Welcome to the house. Welcome to the live stream. Do you still have chicks in the house? I do not have chicks in the house. I have decided after last year, I decided no more chicks through the winter because there is just too much dust. I already have the cockatiels, the budgies, a few quail. I have those little button quails and baby emperor finches that I'm yet to sell. And they create a hell of a lot of dust in themselves. So I just decided no more chicks because they just create such a smell and so much dust. Hello, doggies. I think they're waiting for food again. Can you see them down here? Look at her. She's so silly. So no chicks at the moment. I am planning on putting chicks in the incubator or eggs into the incubator Christmas Day. So that we'll then get a late January hatch, and then we can start to sort of stock up for next season. I've already got several people wanting eggs worth, both chicks and older pullets. So I'll probably put some eggs worth in to start with, and then we'll see how we go. And then you also asked how the sprouts are really good. Obviously, because I was away for a couple of days, I haven't sown the next batch yet. So I'm going to put on the next batch of micro seedlings soon, micro sprouts. And I've still got those radish, amaranth, and sunflower proving to be the best 3. The pak choi didn't work as well, and the basil went a bit weird. I think it may have been covered in something because as soon as I put the water on, they kind of went sticky and gel-like, and they didn't really do very well. So I'm going to do some more amaranth, some more sunflower seeds, and some more radish. The radish one is by far the best so far. It's the easiest to grow. The sunflowers have been a close second. They've actually been really, really easy as far as microgreens go. But I do need to pay it more attention, especially if I'm going to start selling it to customers and things. So Alana says, we finally got our chicks out of the house. Yay! And now we have a rescue hedgehog. I swear they poo almost as much as chicks. Oh no, and they have fleas as well, don't they? But good on you for rescuing a hedgehog. I think I saw it on Facebook. Were you going to try and find a rehoming place for it? I haven't seen a hedgehog in years, sadly. I remember in my youth squashed hedgehogs on the side of the road used to be commonplace, and it kind of, I know you don't want to see a dead hedgehog, but it was a sign that they were around, and I haven't seen a squashed hedgehog in years. So I don't know really what's happened to them. They've all kind of disappeared very sadly. And gardening with AJ says he always says way more seeds than he needs, and I always underestimate how many I need. I do the same. I hate pinching out and I hate pricking out, so I always sow way too many, and then I don't want to kill any of those plants off. And then I have one crop that does really, really well. So this year, my salad bowl red lettuces did amazing. So I had masses and masses and masses of salad bowl red, which I didn't really know what to do with, and not a lot else. So that was this year's fiasco. So next year, fewer seeds, more varieties. Jeff says, I'm going to start fermenting my chicken feed. Yeah, I've heard lots of good stuff about that too. I need to look into how to do it, when to do it, and it's another thing to add to the long list of chores. Charlie says, I want to get some zebra finches. Would you advise a wood shed or a brick shed? I also have an aviary for them. I don't really see much of a difference, actually. Mine are in a wooden shed now, and actually a wooden shed, practically speaking, is easier because you can just cut out pop holes with a saw. I had a concrete shed in my old house, which is a concrete garage, and it was an absolute nightmare to put little pop holes and things into for the birds to come in and out. With a wooden shed, it's far easier. You could also attach branches far more easily to the outside. So if you just want a basic, simple structure that's easy to put up, and you want to be able to take it down at some point, it might be just easier going with a wooden shed. I mean, they're really good. They're just as good as the brick built shelter, really, in my opinion. And Alana says, all the local hedgehog rescues are full. I see squash ones fairly frequently around here. And yes, the fleas, yuck. Apparently they won't live on dogs though, which is good. Yes, I heard that. There was this kind of myth that, if you touched a hedgehog, all the fleas would jump off and come onto your cats and dogs, but they won't, because they are specific to the hedgehog. So they might jump off and bite the cat or bite the dog once, but then they won't like it, so they'll jump back onto the hedgehog. But I can't believe they're full. I mean, I suppose it's good that they are full in terms of rescuing them, but I'd much rather they didn't have so many hedgehogs and they were all out and about, happy in the wild. I keep catching my little dog Beetle in the background there on her chair. That's her throne, by the way. Nobody's allowed to sit on that chair. She just sits there permanently. And M. Akhtar has joined us. Hey, I'm really good, thanks. I hope you are as well. And I'm loving that we are all in on a Saturday night. We're not out drinking. Well, I'm drinking tea. But yeah, the days of me hitting the town are gone. And so it's a Saturday night in. And I haven't really done a vast amount since I got back, because the drive back on Wednesday, as I said, was 13 hours. So we left at 10:18 in the morning. We left from our little holiday cottage in Inverness, and we got back just for 11. So actually 12 and a half hours. But we did do a massive detour. So there's two ways from Inverness back to the UK. And it comes up from Glasgow, so you can take the A9 through the Cairngorms, or you can take the A82 up past Ben Nevis and all of that. What did you break?
I didn't. I caught a house spider.
Oh.
But it never made its noise, so I got his tape.
Oh, okay. So my husband is... What is that?
It's a house spider.
So this...
Hate. But I caught
this
it.
is apparently a makeshift...
Hello.
House spider killing machine, which is... What is this?
Don't drop it.
Oh, it's a bit of hoover
Yeah.
with gaffer tape attached to the end and a dead spider.
Not really, it's moving still.
No, it's fairly dead.
Okay.
It's tiny.
No, it's massive. It was one of the house spiders.
I have no words. Take it away.
I'm going to put it in the fireplace.
Oh my goodness. He doesn't like spiders at all. So, sorry, getting back to Emacta. So you had your broody hens sit on quail eggs, but they didn't hatch. Oh no. Did you ectopsy them and break them open? Were they infertile? I'm using now rabbit hay and put down 6 white silky eggs as she is still sitting after 3 weeks, 2 days gone. 19 days left for my silkies to hatch. Good luck. Make sure you candle them just to make sure they are fertile. So I would candle them on day... Well, I don't like to wait. I'm not very patient. I tend to candle them on like day 4 when you can just see tiny amounts of thread veining coming. But candle them on day 7 or day 8 for sure, and then you'll be able to find out whether they are actually fertile. And then Charlie says, what do you do in the winter? Do I put a heater in or bring them inside? So that's in regards of the aviary birds. Zebra finches are really hardy, so they get no heat. They are much the same as quail in that they just need a dry, draft-proof place. They do have, I leave their wicker nest boxes up all year round, and they do go into them and sleep, but I have kept zebra finches outside in an aviary with an inside pop hole bit without heat for over 20 years, and they've always been totally fine. You just need to remember to keep all their food up because little birds need a huge amount of food because generating all that heat takes a lot of energy. So you've got to make sure they've got access to food through all the daylight hours, and then they get everything they need to generate the heat, survive the night, and then they'll so you'll find they will eat more. But yeah, they don't need heat. If you start to go into more precious birds, so things like Gordians or cutthroats, waxbills, they do need heat. I've kept Bengalese outside without heat, and I've kept orange-cheeked waxbills outside without heat. But again, they all had a draft-proof, frost-free area to get into. It's the same with the budgies, and I've had Rosa Borks in the past as well, and they've all been fine. But if you go into things, as I say, like Gordians and cutthroats and things, they need a bit more heat to survive. And M. Akhtar is saying, should I still candle them? She's been brooding the nest for over 4 weeks. I know, they never stop, do they, broodies? They keep going until those eggs, or some eggs, hatch. First time, only laid eggs for 1 month and still a baby herself. Oh, bless her. I would still... How long have they been in there? I think you just said they 19 days to go, so they've only been under her. These new silky eggs have only been under her for 2 days, is that right? So if they've only been under her for 2 days, candle them in like 4 days and just check. So candle them in like 4 days time and see if there is anything going on there, and then you can decide whether to chuck them out or get new ones. Because the thing is, she is so broody now, she's not going to probably break her broodiness until she gets chicks. And so you don't want her going another 21 days and they're not fertile eggs. So I would definitely candle them and see if they're fertile. And then if they're not, day 5 or 6, it can be hard to tell whether they're candled. You might get some that look clear, but the embryo has just come away from the shell a little bit. So for definite, candle on day 10. And by day 10, you will definitely know which are fertile and which aren't fertile. And if you've got an unfertile batch, I would throw them out and put some more eggs under her quickly. Or if you're worried about her just constantly sitting on the nest, you could try and find somebody selling day-old chicks and put them under her in the night. Although at this time of year, that might be a little bit difficult to source those day-old chicks, but that's another option as well. If you want to break the broodiness, if you want babies, then just keep trying to put some fertile eggs onto her. But are they silky eggs you're hatching? Because silkies are the best. And I need to give you a little update with my 5 silkies. So I've got 5 more baby silkies. And they're starting to come out in the toasted marshmallow colour, and they're actually quite small chicks still. So obviously this toasted marshmallow colour is now getting into the genes. So this is the 2nd generation. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this sort of progresses. At the moment it's kind of just a dusty, subtle beigey colour, but I'm hoping as they grow it will come out more vividly. Great, so definitely white silkies, that would be so cute. I hope they are fertile, because baby white silkies are amazing. And then I think next year we're going to have a little... I'll put it up to you guys. I'll put up a poll and I'll see basically which chicks you want to follow for chick check. So I'm going to do another chick check, and obviously this year I had some Ixworth and I did the Danver Silky Crosses. Next year there's going to be a variety. So I'm going to have Ixworth, I'm going to have probably Polands, there's going to be Danvers, there's going to be Silkies. So I'll probably let you guys decide which you want to follow for the chick check. And also, I'm contemplating at the moment getting some pheasants. So we may follow those pheasant chicks through as well. So M. Akhtar says the silky eggs are bigger than the bantam eggs. Yeah, so in general, silky eggs, it depends what you get because silkies come in a bantam form and a pure, a large fowl form. But they tend to have eggs sort of middle size between your normal hybrid layers and your bantams. I've got some absolutely tiny bantam eggs coming out at the moment, literally probably only this big. They're not much bigger than a quail egg. They're delicious though. And Alana says, my silky cross cockerel found his voice. Oh no, he sounds like Barry. Can't believe the noise from such a small bird. I know! You know, when I had no idea that silkies made so much noise, and having had them now and gone online and found out more about them, silkies are notorious for being loudmouths. But they are blimmin' loud, aren't they, Alana? Blimmin' loud. Even the silky crosses. I don't think I've got any silky crosses left. No, I have. I've got Bruce. Bruce has now surpassed my two Danver cockerels in loudness. He is really, really loud. Charlie asks, where do I get my finches from? So my zebra finches, I've bred myself. So I probably started with about 3 pairs, and I've got about 25 birds now. And so I've paired up, you know, birds from different clutches and from different parents. And then in the past, the cage and aviary bird scene in this country has kind of taken a nosedive. Back when I was a kid in the 1990s, early 2000, cage and aviary bird keeping was massive. Pets at Home, PetSmart, that's what they all used to have birds for sale in their thing. So you could buy them there. And there was even online ordering places. So you could go online, you could order your finches. And I bought a lot of finches online and then they delivered them because I couldn't drive at the time. So I couldn't get out to all these bird pet shops. So when I had all my huge menagerie of waxbills and Bengalese and Java finches and what else did I have? Hex finches, cutthroats and all that. Most of them were bought online. But then we had an outbreak of avian flu. I think it was the first outbreak of avian flu or bird flu. And the industry dropped. Nobody wanted cage birds anymore. Nobody wanted finches. So they kind of disappeared from all of the shops. There is a great place north of Enfield. I'm racking my brains for the name. I can't remember the name, but north of Enfield, near London, there is a whole row of nurseries, really, Cruise Hill. So there's a ton of garden nurseries up there, but there's a ton of really, really great bird shops as well. And birds are starting to find a recovery. I'm finding that a lot more people now, instead of keeping finches, keep parrots. So parrots have really found a resurge. So there's, you know, when I was a kid and walking around, you know, even 10 years ago, parrots weren't that big a thing. But now, most places you walk, you can see people with big cages in their house with parrots and things. So I'm hoping that the cage and aviary bird scene is going to boost again because they are lovely little animals to keep. I think the other thing that's impacted it was the ban on importation because a lot of the birds coming in, especially waxbills and rarer things like that, were actually wild caught. So that's been stopped as well. So now it's only, you know, reared, British reared or home reared, which is a very good thing. But at the moment I only have my zebra finches and my budgies and my cockatiels. So I do want to expand next year. Although I don't have a lot of space, as you know. So Emacta says, what do you think about rabbit raising them for fertilizer, as they can be used immediately, unlike chicken poop? I think that's a really, really good idea. You'd have to decide whether you want to keep your rabbits for meat, so you're doing meat rabbits, or you're just having pet rabbits. There's no reason you can't just have pet rabbits and just use their poo as fertilizer, because as you say, their poo is really great. It doesn't need any breaking down. The pellets can go straight onto your bed. And if you're using a no-dig method, that's even better, because you can literally just throw them straight on top. and plant into them because they're not rich enough to burn, leaf burn or root burn or anything like that. So I think it's a really, really great idea. So Jeff says, my Serramas lay eggs the size of a thumbnail. I bet they're tiny. I mean, yeah, I bet they're tiny. They're probably no bigger than a blimmin' budgie egg, to be honest. And Charlie says, you're kidding, I live in North Somerset. Yeah, okay, so North London's a bit of a way to come for you. I'm sure there are some bird places down there. I'd go online or join some. Facebook is amazing for groups. So go onto Facebook, join, find a Finch group. I don't think I'm part of one. Am I part of a Finch group? Hang on, let me have a look. I think I am, actually. Finches. Finch. Oh, it can't find it. But okay, so I've just put Finch into the Facebook search engine and it's come up with Zebra Finch Breeders UK and it's come up with Finches only. So there are groups. So I would, if you're looking for like birds down in Somerset, I would go onto Facebook, type out the bird you want, so zebra finches or finches, and join the group and you'll probably find local breeders that can help you out. And Jeff's saying, I think all the new technology is taken away from the hobby too for children. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right because, you know, we didn't have mobile phones when I was young. We didn't have laptops. We didn't have tablets. We had our house had one desktop computer that, you know, we were rationed computer time on by my parents, and so we had other hobbies. So mine was playing in the garden, collecting insects, and all my birds. But nowadays, you know, if you want a bird, you find a keeping a bird app on your mobile phone, and you keep a virtual bird. So I think that has taken away from it as well. And as you know, if you go to any of these society functions, mostly, I don't want to be too damning here, but mostly it's elderly people, and especially elderly men. You know, if you look at the Budgerigar Society, Canary Society, it's men in their 60s, 70s, and there's not a lot of new blood coming into it. So again, I think the hobby is dying out. So I think I encourage people to keep birds because I think that birds are amazing little. Emma Akhtar says, do you raise finch for meat? Have you eaten their eggs? I don't, because honestly, a finch this big, there will be nothing on it. I mean, there's hardly any meat on a Coturnix quail as it is. I raise finches because I have done since I was 13, so over 20 years ago, and I love them, and they're cool. And also, as I say, you can make a little bit of money selling them as well. So I cover all the costs of feed. I was writing about this the other day. You know, and I said it in my budgie video as well. I cover the entire cost of feed from my zebra finches, and I make about £100 a year. And that is £100 is nothing in the grand scheme of things. But you know, as I said in that video, it's like an extra. It's a vet bill paid. It's seeds for the spring. It's some trees for up at the farm. So yeah, I rear them basically because it's a hobby and I enjoy them, and I can make a little bit of extra cash from them as well, which is really, really cool. But I have eaten finch eggs. Budgie eggs fried taste like those sweets because they're so tiny and they're so sweet. You know those little Haribo jelly sweet eggs? They taste exactly the same. And I think I might have tried a zebra finch one as well back in the day. But I mean, a zebra finch egg is, what, that big? Smaller, probably. So there's not a lot to it. I think I must have tried one back in the day when I was a kid, and I had because zebra finches in particular lay tons of eggs all the time. So the only way to stop them breeding is take their eggs away. So I used to throw them in the frying pan and eat them. So Jeff saying, in Canada, all the members are 60 plus too. Me and one other woman are the only youngerish members. I know. And I think of myself as young. And, you know, you join these forums or these groups, and you're the youngest there. And then you think, yeah, but I'm 36. So I'm young by the standards of them. But for newbies coming in, you know, kids that might want to keep them, you know, 15, 18, 20-year-olds, I'm old. I'm like middle-aged. But yeah, you're right. We are the younger people now in these groups. And I think it's the same across the board. It's the same with farming. I can't remember the statistic. It's something like 80% of farmers in the UK are over 60 because it's just people. I guess it's the way society is. Kids grew up, and with technology and the ease of travel these days, you naturally leave home and you go to cities. And that's what I did. I've just now grown to a stage where I want to go back. But a lot of people never get to that stage, or they move abroad. And so you've got this whole generational divide of all these elderly people. Perhaps, like exactly as you said, maybe you've hit the nail on the head. All these elderly people that didn't have that technology, and so filled their days and their spare time with hobbies and that weren't on phones and tablets and things like that. And now people don't do that because they're on Facebook or they're on Tinder or they're on, they're playing apps on their phone, they're playing Pokemon, and they're not doing other hobbies. And that's just, I guess, the way society changes. But it's sad in some ways because it means all these other, things that people do, these pursuits, bird keeping, farming, etc., sort of die out. But there's been a research in the UK, in particular, about home crafts and things again, which I think were once seen as an elderly person's stuff: crochet, knitting, handcrafts, needlework, stuff like that. But quite a lot of younger people are getting into that as well. Although when I say younger people, I mean people my age, which is middle-aged now. I don't want to be middle-aged. And Alana is saying, when I had an allotment in my 20s, everyone else was a good 30s older than me. Yeah, the same. When I was at the allotment, I was probably one of the youngest people at the allotment. And that was when I was probably in my early 35. So M Actor says, it's hard to get an allotment. The procedure is outdated and long. Yeah. And he says, me with my garden and chickens and work don't have time to look into all the formalities and paperworks. I know, completely. I was really, 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 really lucky with my allotment. The allotments near me when I lived in East London were a private allotments, so they weren't council owned. They were private from back in the day. They're run by like a charity that was founded in like the 1940s. And when we walked up to get an allotment, they had just cleared the list of people that didn't want one. So I was probably number 5 on the list. So we got in really, really quickly, and I was exceptionally lucky. And that was also at the peak time when allotments in the UK were really coming into fashion. So I think there was a lot of young people who wanted to rush out and get allotments. I think that fashion is kind of fading a little bit now. And so now you've just got the die-hard want to grow veg and stuff, rather than the people that just see it as a weekend hobby. The other thing, I didn't actually really enjoy allotmenting because I like pottering. So I like just being able to go out the back door and potter and weed and water as I see. I didn't like the whole having to, pack a bag, get all my stuff together, allot 3 or 4 or 5 hours out of my weekend to go up there constantly. And I shared it with my godmother, and so I always felt this pressure that I had to go and do it with her. Not that I didn't like it. I loved spending time with her, but it became like a chore rather than a hobby. So allotmenting to me was not a good thing. I prefer to potter. But I know that many people love it because they can just shut the front door on the Saturday morning and go, and then they'll just spend the whole weekend down the allotment, which is great. So Charlie is asking, what do you use for nesting boxes for the finches? So you can buy a variety. You can buy wicker baskets, you can buy wooden boxes, or there are even some sort of plasticky boxes that you can buy which are supposed to be easily washable. I wouldn't recommend the plastic ones because I find that though they are easily washable, when finches are breeding in the spring and the summer and there are a lot of chicks in the nest. My dog is just licking the back of the sofa. What a weirdo. What a total weirdo. So yeah, so I wouldn't recommend the plastic ones. I use the wicker ones, the wicker baskets, and then I buy straw, and I put a little bit of straw in the bottom, and then you can buy coconut fibre. And so I put a little bit of straw in the bottom of each nest as kind of a base, and then I put the coconut fibre in the aviary. So I tie it up with a piece of wire, and I put them around the aviary, and then the male finches and sometimes the females come along and they pull the coconut fibre out, and then they build their nests inside. Hi, Lois Ann. Welcome to our Saturday night live stream. Alana is saying my Jack Russell does that. Licks sofas, cushions, the bed, people. She's very odd. Bo doesn't normally do that. I think something might have got spilt there. Beetle likes to lick people's knees, which is okay when you understand that she's doing it. But, you know, when you have strangers come to the house and she starts licking their knees, it's a bit strange. But I don't know why Bo does that. I hope you're having a great Saturday, Lois Ann. Welcome to the first chat. We're just chilling on the live stream, answering questions. I did a little update at the beginning of the show, just going over this past week's videos. I can't wait to show you guys next week's Monday Magic, which obviously is already filmed. So normally I'd film a Monday Magic on the Monday. So I go out Monday morning, I find something, I film it, I share it with you. Obviously, I couldn't do that this past week because I was up in Scotland, but I really wanted to share with you this walk that we did through the forest. So I'm really excited for you to see it because it's just amazing. And the camera doesn't really pick up the beauty of the landscape at all. When you're in it, it's completely different. And I think it's the same with all phones and all cameras, no matter how good, unless you've got like a BBC Planet Earth camera, which obviously I'm filming on a smartphone. So yeah, the scenery won't look as amazing as it did, but I think it will show you kind of just how magical Scotland is in itself, and also sort of Mother Nature and stuff. So I'm really excited to share that with you. And I'm excited tomorrow as well to see if we get those 4 little budgie chicks to hatch. So it would be really amazing if her first ever clutch with me hatches 4. 4 of 4 eggs would be great. And I did balls up the timing because I thought they actually incubated for 21 days, but it seems they actually only incubate for 17 to 18 days. So the 3 chicks that are out are in total line with the 3 eggs that were laid. So that 4th egg isn't the first egg that was laid. It must have been the last egg. So fingers crossed we will get another baby tomorrow. I have moved the button quail into the bottom of the flight for the time being. I am going to make up this terrarium that I've mentioned before. I've got tons of big old fish tanks that I've had since a kid, and you go onto Pinterest and you see all these ideas of things to use for the tanks, and they all look a bit naff. But I wondered about planting one up and having the button quail in it with some plants and stuff. So I am still going to get around to doing that. But for now, just to give them a little bit more space, I've put them in the bottom of the budgie flight, and they seem to be absolutely fine. The budgies have taken no notice at all. Hi Ali, welcome to the chat tonight. So Ali says, hi, have you had any experience growing raspberries? Just bought a few canes to plant. Yeah, raspberries are mega easy and they will propagate themselves really, really well. The main thing to know is whether you've bought summer or autumn fruiting ones, because that depends when you prune them. So as a general rule, now I need to get this right, summer fruiting raspberries, you cut the canes after they've fruited, because they're so summer, they are the earlier fruiting ones, so they need a longer growth period, so you cut the canes after they've fruited. The autumn ones, you leave the canes on and you prune them in the spring. You prune them down, and then the new ones generate the autumn raspberries. The main thing with raspberries is good bird netting, because as much as we love raspberries, birds adore raspberries. So if you've got them in your back garden, that's great, because you can potter and you can pick as you need. But as I was talking about the allotment earlier, if you have them in an allotment, you might see this wonderful crop of raspberries coming and get really, really excited. And then you go away for the week and you come back the following Saturday with your bucket ready to pick your harvest, and the birds have eaten the whole lot. So I would just say, know which variety you've got, so you know when to prune, and make sure you do some protection from the birds. But they are generally very, very easy. They will, once you've got a few canes in the ground, they will happily spread themselves. I find it's probably a good idea to put them in a semi-sheltered spot, because if the wind is whipping them all over the place, canes can get quite tall, and when they're first growing, they can be quite sappy. So if you can put them in a slightly sheltered position, then often a bit happier, and in the sun as well, obviously, to ripen the fruit. But yeah, raspberries are really, really great, and that's one thing I don't actually have here. I don't have a lot of soft fruit. So obviously I got those thornless blackberries earlier this year, and raspberry canes are something that I am looking at getting as well, because raspberry canes, raspberries and strawberries, and you know, summer pudding, and that's what I want to have. So Alana is saying, completely off topic, but have you watched Wartime Farm on iPlayer? I binge watched the series today and loved it. I haven't. Have I heard of it? I think I've heard of it. Is it a little bit like Victorian Kitchen, but like the newer one? Ali says, awesome, thanks for your advice. They're actually dead cheap too. Spent like 15, 20 quid and got a load of canes. Yeah, this time of year is amazing for canes, for fruiting canes, for trees, even for plants, because a lot of places are selling at end of stock, or they're selling bare earth plants. So you can get really, really good deals at this time of year. And also it is a good time of year to plant them, because they're dormant, so you're not disturbing the roots when you put them in. And then as soon as that warm weather appears in the spring, the plants are already in the soil, so they can just get going immediately. So it's a really, really good time of year to buy shrubs and fruiting canes and things like that. So Alana says, yes, so the same people are doing the Wartime Farm. I really love, I don't know her name, but the lady with the red hair, she's really, really quirky. I might have caught the odd episode now and then. I need to go back and look at it, because I think maybe I have seen some where they were using a horse to plough and things like that, and that is something I'd quite like to do at the farm. You know, modern machinery is great, but I have this probably stupid rose-tinted idea of having a couple of heavy horses, Suffolk punches, because obviously the farm, we're having rare breeds from the area, so a couple of heavy horses, or perhaps using somebody else's heavy horses to work, and bring in and do some ploughing and, you know, pulling trees along and things like that. So I might have to watch that. What's the matter? What is it? The dogs are going nuts tonight. What's the matter? I think they're scared to go upstairs because they've heard Sard banging around trying to catch that spider. So Alana's, they were using horses to harrow after they'd sown the seed with a tractor to stop the birds eating the seeds. Cool. Yeah, so that is, I'd love to see stuff like that, and I'd love to do it. And I watch a lot of farming stuff, and I can't remember what this was, but I did watch a show this year where, what on earth was it on? It wasn't on Country Fire. It was something. Anyway, he kept heavy horses, but he kept heavy horses to continue working the land. They were a tiny farm. They didn't want to spend the money on tractors, so they used their heavy horses for, you know, what they were traditionally used for, which was ploughing, which was helping to pull heavy loads, like when they were coppicing and taking down trees, pulling the tree trunks out, and it was amazing. And I love horses, but I'd also love to have them on the farm and actually have them as a working animal rather than just, you know, a horse standing in a field. Especially if they can replace the work of a tractor, which obviously would be a lot more efficient and quicker, and that's why obviously horses are no longer used. But there's something nice about going back to the land and sort of doing it traditional style, if you have the time, of course. So Ali is saying there's a YouTube fairly similar to yours I like to watch called Way Out West Blow in blog. They've got horses that work on their homestead. Oh, I've never heard of that one. So Way Out West Blow in blog. I'm going to look those up. Thanks for that, Ali. I'm going to definitely look that up, because I would love to see working horses on a homestead. Because I think, you know, because if you've got a small homestead, most homesteads can't afford a tractor. And you might have some local farmers that maybe you can work with and you can barter with, and you can say, you know, can I borrow your tractor and I'll do such and such. But it would be it's really nice to, I think, have a traditional kind of farm working horse. Failing that, we will still have horses, and I know that my husband wants to sort of rescue a couple of ex-race horses because he used to ride in Saudi Arabia, and he would love to have horses. But I really fancy a heavy horse because, as you know, it's in Suffolk, and I'm trying to do this rare breeds thing. So I've got the Ixworth chickens, the Suffolk sheep, the red pearl cattle. So a Suffolk punch would kind of round things off rather nicely. Girls, no. They're playing bitey face, which I don't really allow. Stop it, please. Stop it. Good girls. So let's see what's going on. Sorry, I used my mouse there. So has anybody got any more questions about plans for next year or just general what we're doing here? There are many plans afoot for next year. Obviously, space is at a premium here, but I think I've talked before about the fact that we want to set up this ornamental pheasantry when we're on the farm, and we're going to, well, I'm thinking about trying to get started with that next year, by starting with some starter birds. So it's probably golden pheasants. Now you can get golden pheasants in a number of different colour varieties. They're not all golden. You can get yellow ones, you can get silver ones, you can even get this salmon coloured one. So I'm thinking of possibly moving the quail out of the aviary and keeping the pheasants in there next year. But again, I'll be hatching them out from chicks. The males take a year to colour up, so we can't even start breeding our own stock till 2019, even if I did that. So that's why, again, I'm thinking of sort of trying to get ahead and starting it early, because that's the thing with farming and livestock. Things take a long time. You know, chickens, 6 months to start laying. Pheasants, a year to they start feathering up. And then when you get into cows and sheep, you're playing the long game. Jeff asked, are they like chickens? They're a little bit like chickens. They're more wild, obviously. You can keep them in similar conditions, but they do need, whereas chickens get like a layers pellet, pheasants do need to get like a wildfowl grain sort of thing, or sort of mix, which also can be fed for quail. Now, at the moment, I just feed my quail the chicken layers pellets because it's not efficient or cost effective for me to buy separate feed for each of them. But if obviously I get the pheasants, I'll start buying the wild game feed for the pheasant, and then the quail can get that. And so Alana says, 2 questions. When will you start sowing your seeds for next year? So I will probably start in January. So next month. That's crazy, isn't it? So I'll start my aubergines and my peppers off in the heated propagator next month. And I'll probably start a few salads. So early season greens that you can't normally grow in the summer. So winter lettuces and spinach and things like that. I will probably start off next month as well, just so I've got a nice little season before it gets too hot in the summer. So if they come up in January, I can probably start harvesting end of February. So yeah, March, April, May, and then they'll probably start bolting and going to seed. So I'll get those early ones in next month. And then other pheasants, just ornamental pet birds. So yeah, so we have the common ringneck pheasant here in the UK, which is a wild variety, and that is the variety that's often bred by gamekeepers for shoots. But we don't want to breed those. We want to breed ornamental pheasants for people's aviaries. Again, so going along that sort of that pet aviary, Cajun aviary bird trade again. So it'll be things like Lady Amherst pheasants, the peacock pheasant, tragopans, golden pheasants and things like that. Sada's really into that side of things, and I'm really keen for him to kind of have his own little sort of business within the Brimwood farm, to keep him occupied while I'm out with my cows. So yeah, we're thinking about starting that next year with a few little pheasants. Ali says, thoughts on keeping rabbits? Thoughts on keeping rabbits? Something I haven't tried yet. Something I'm watching a lot of online to see how people do it, both in the cage system and the colony system. I would love to do the colony system because I think it's a more natural way, but I haven't obviously got the space here. So I am contemplating getting a buck and a couple of does and doing a cage system. But again, I'm limited on space, so I kind of have to pick and choose what I get. I do, obviously, we eat all our own chicken meat here, and we also have the quails. But chicken and quail gets a bit repetitive, so it would be nice possibly to have some rabbit meat as something different. So I do think definitely, if you can, raise rabbits. They're a small animal, they're easy to look after, you can keep them as pets or for meat. You can easily fit them on an urban homestead setting where they're not going to make any noise. And then as long as you do your proper homework and research and get advice on culling and things, you can do that very humanely at home as well. So I think, yeah, definitely thumbs up to that. Girls, can you please stop it? Pull you down. Come on, down. So Jeff is saying, I always see pheasants pace the wire. I feel bad for them in cages. Yeah, pheasants do need quite a lot of space. They do pace the wire a lot. And in a perfect setup, you have big runs filled with foliage so they can hide away. Because I've seen a lot of pheasant runs where they're just bare earth and they're not happy. So you have to get the conditions right. Sarah is saying, and hello Sarah, thanks and welcome to the live stream tonight. Sarah is saying, a quail happy to be handled, petted. Not really. I do handle mine and I do pet them, and they're very tame because I hatch them out in the incubator, so they've been held ever since they were babies. They're not that fond of it, and they're very flighty and they're very wriggly. So you've got to be aware that if you have taken them out of your aviary and you're holding them like this, they can wriggle like crazy and slip through your grip pretty easily, and then they will just fly straight up. In fact, the other day when I was putting the last of the hens that I hatched, I was putting them back into the aviary. I actually lost one. She flew straight up into the air onto the roof of next door. Thank goodness, when she made her return flight, she actually flew back down into the garden and I managed to catch her and put her back in. But they are a flight risk. So if you are going to pick them up and handle them, pet them, do it where they can't fly away. What's the matter? Sorry, the dog's being a right pain tonight. Jeff is saying, does your husband share your love for chickens and homesteading? Not at all. He loves animals. He absolutely adores animals. He loves having them around. He loves the idea of homesteading and keeping chickens. And he was the facilitator in getting all of the chickens because he is the one that goes out and finds all these amazing breeds and buys hatching eggs and then gives them to me. But he's not really that keen on the actual doing the homesteading stuff. So I am well aware that when we are on the farm, it's going to be me doing it and him kind of probably having another job actually to keep himself occupied. He is a fantastic cook. And he loves cooking with the produce that we make. So that's a good mesh because, I rear the animals, I cull the animals, and I pick the greens and I pick the harvests, and he makes yummy food out of them. So that's a good mesh. But the actual active stomping around in manure, mucking out, feeding is not his bag at all. Sarah is asking, can rabbits share a run? I guess, can rabbits share with chickens or quail runs? I have never kept... Who's farted? One of the dogs has farted. I've never kept rabbits myself, so I don't know. They definitely wouldn't be able to work with quail because the quail are too small. They might work with chickens. Again, I wouldn't necessarily mix them because I don't know if they'd mix that well. So it's probably best to keep them separate. I think one of my dogs has pooed in the house. Is there a poo in the house out there? Has one of the dogs pooed?
Oh, yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's right there.
Only on a live stream, folks. The dog has pooed in the house. That's why she's been empty.
Did you not notice that?
Well, no, I didn't notice. I just got the smell of it wafting across my nose. Tonight's live stream is interesting. We've had dead spiders. We've had poo. So let's carry on. So Jeff is saying, do quail or pheasant go broody ever? I've only seen them incubated. I I'm not sure. I have seen lots of sites where they can get quail to go broody. The problem is you need to basically replicate their natural habitat. So quail in a small run like that, where there's tons and tons of females and only a females, it won't happen. But quails actually in the wild do pair up, and pheasants do pair up, and they will incubate their eggs. So I've seen some people have big runs with long grass and lots of foliage and just a pair, and in that situation they have incubated and hatched out their own chicks, which is really, really cool. And again, I would like to try something like that in the future and just see if I could get it to work. So yes, the Dettol is here. Now we're having a poo cleanup. So Patrick is saying, are you going to the International Poultry Show tomorrow? And sadly, there you go. Sadly, I'm not, because it's in Stafford, isn't it? Way up north. I've done too much driving. We went to Scotland at the beginning of the week. It was an 11-hour drive there. It was a 13-hour drive back. So the thought of going up to Stafford, which is so it'd be a 6-hour round trip, is just too much. My friend did exhibit there and he won some firsts, which is really, really good. But I do want to go to one of the national poultry shows one day, just so I can buy stuff. So hopefully next year. And then obviously I will film it. Ali is saying poor house and Alana's laughing. Why does this always happen? The dogs are really, really good, but Beetle has got into sort of a routine of pooing on the floor. A, when she's not paid attention to, and B, when I take Sard to work. So sometimes I have to take Sard to work really early in the morning, about 5 a.m, 4:30, 5 a.m. And Beetle comes downstairs and poos on the floor as a little gift for my return, which I'm not too happy about, Beetle. Little Miss Poopy Pants.
I'm not sure if it was Beetle though.
I think it was Beetle. So, that's the Saturday Night Live stream for you. You never know what's going to happen. Patrick is saying, would you recommend rescuing a turkey from a turkey farm? I'm not sure. You could. The thing with turkeys that are bred particularly for meat, and this is the same with chickens, so broiler chickens, the commercial breeds have been specially bred to get fat and get a lot of meat on them very, very quickly. And I know people that have rescued said broiler hens, and I think actually somebody has rescued a commercial turkey from a turkey farm, and they just don't last very long because they are not a heritage breed. They're a breed that have been specifically created for meat, and because of that, they become very unhealthy. They grow too quickly for their legs to keep up. They can get overweight very easily because they just keep eating. So I would recommend, if you want turkeys, to get a non-commercial breed. So look at a heritage breed, because you might actually be quite upset if you get a rescue turkey and find that it doesn't last that long. Unless, of course, you want to eat it. If you're looking at Christmas dinner and you want to rescue it and grow it up a bit more, then obviously that is probably a good option. So M Actor is saying, Peking ducks I intend to raise for meat next year, but they are very dirty and messy animals. But they grow up to 4 to 6k in 8 weeks. A turkey and ducks, when they get funny feet, put them on a diet that happens to use so much eating. Yeah, exactly. So 2 things there. Yeah, Peking ducks are really, really ace for growing quickly. My friend keeps Peking ducks. She swears by them. Sard doesn't really like duck, but I love duck meat. And Pekins grow to maturity very, very quickly. And again, yes, just picking up on that issue of overweightness, as commercial breeds are made to eat a lot of food in a very short time and put on a lot of weight. And so you get this thing where they just are not that great healthy. So you can dial back the feed to try and keep them, lean and more healthy, but their metabolism is designed to put on weight very, very quickly. And so that's why I've gone back to heritage breeds and dual purpose breeds. Alana's saying, I love turkeys. They're on my list of animals to get when we move somewhere big enough. My 6-year-old today decided he wants goats too. I think your 6-year-old is ace. And you should definitely encourage him with more and more animals. I love turkeys. I really love them. I think when in one of my videos, the young person's farming show or something like that I went to earlier this year, we saw some turkeys and they were absolutely amazing. And that little snood, which is that fleshy bit on their nose, which drops down and then comes all the way back up. Excuse me, sorry. Is really fascinating, and I just stand there watching this snood as it comes out and goes down and comes back up, and it's very, very funny. And they're very, very intelligent birds, and my friend has them. She has got bronze turkeys, and I absolutely adore them. They are hilarious animals, and certainly something I want to keep. Ali is saying, do you plan on keeping more animals like pigs and sheep when I move to the farm? Yes, yes, and yes. Possibly not pigs, only because we don't eat a lot of pig, and I have to confess I'm a little bit scared of pigs. I don't know. They're very nice animals, but they are very intelligent animals, and they scare me a little bit. I think because they could, with one chomp, they could take your hand off. And some pigs get massive. But definitely sheep. Definitely cows. Cows and sheep are the big bucket items that we're going to have pretty immediately. We're planning, as soon as we get there, we're planning on getting our pedigree Suffolk ewes and then our heifer calves. So we want to get two red pole suckling calves that will rear, and then that means by the time it comes to insemination, we've got 18 months of cow husbandry and experience behind us. So we're definitely going to do that. I also want to have some donkeys. Everybody is crazy about alpacas for being, a security animal and keeping foxes away. But donkeys are an amazing security animal and will protect your coop from foxes and all sorts of vermin. So definitely want donkeys, possibly some horses. So it's just going to be a bit of a zoo. Patrick says, I do bird rescue, so I shouldn't really support homesteading, for example, butchering, but I love your channel and love seeing your chickens. Thank you, Patrick. And I hope you realise that, homesteading channels, we do the best homesteading channels. We don't just sacrifice animals for whatever reason. We do it for purpose. We try and give our animals the best life possible. Certainly I do. And the whole point of homesteading for me is not buying all of the commercial, poorly bred animals in, battery cages. They're outlawed now, but, in big sheds and things like that. Or, tiny little calves that are taken away from their mum after a day. I'm totally against all of that. I want all my animals to have the best life possible, even though I still eat meat. So thank you for coming along and supporting us. I really, really appreciate it. Jeff is saying, Jeff's saying wallabies, you must get them too. I don't know if I'm be allowed to have wallabies or emu. Actually, I could have emu. Wallabies aren't freely available over here, but emu definitely are. And in fact, next time I go to the farm, I'm going to do a little peek over the hedge, because when I was growing up, there was an ostrich farm there, because for a time, ostrich meat was supposed to be the next big thing in the UK. So there was a huge ostrich farm there. I think it's gone now, but I must have a little drive around there and look. And so Jeff also just asked whether the cows on the property are mine. They are not mine. They are my tenant farmers. So my tenant farmer mostly does sheep, but they have, like me, got into cattle. And they're trying to raise and develop a pedigree herd of, so they've got shorthorns. So those cattle are shorthorns. So they're having a pedigree herd of shorthorns, which they've got several heifers, and they're breeding year on year to raise up. And they want to get to a stage where they can raise bulls for sale as stud bulls. So they can they can win awards, and they can raise the best cows possible, and then send those bulls off to be stud bulls on other farms. So those cows are there, and they the last vlog I did, the farm vlog, we were preparing the barn for the arrival of this year's winter cows. So next time I'm up, which will probably be in January, I'll take some video of those cows, because they are really, really lovely, those shorthorns. Ostrich here in Canada too. Yeah, very dangerous. So Jeff is saying they've got ostriches in Canada, and they're very dangerous, and they really, really are. So Alana is saying the garden centre poultry centre near me has rheas. They're awesome, like dinosaurs. I volunteered at the wildlife park. The emu scared me. The noise they make is amazing. I don't think I've ever heard them make the noise, but I do see that whole of... I see it with the chickens too. It only takes a quick glance at a chicken in a certain stance to catch that dinosaur resemblance. And I always think it's amazing. And I often think that Barry looks like a T-Rex. Now, you might think that's completely bizarre, but that bit in Jurassic Park where the T-Rex is down, so his tail is up behind him, his little feet are down, and he's kind of pawing the ground. Barry does that exact stance. And I'm going to have to try and catch it one day and put it into a meme and put the dinosaur here and Barry here. But they are very prehistoric looking, and after all, they did come from dinosaurs. So it's pretty amazing. And emus and ostriches and all of that sort of thing. And cassowaries from Australia. All amazing but very dangerous birds. Jeff is saying Highland cattle are getting big on the prairies. I love Highland cattle, and Sud adores Highland cattle. So actually, the aim is to have 3 heifers, 2 red poll heifers, and a Highland heifer. Just why not? We love them, so why not? And there are quite a few Highland cattle in Suffolk as well. Actually, if you go to the Suffolk Agricultural Show, there are quite a few Highland cows there. So we might just have to get one. Ali asks, what do I do for a living? So I wish I could tell you that I am a full-time homesteader, but I am not. I run a gardening business. So I do basically mostly garden maintenance for mostly little old ladies these days. So now is kind of my down season. I'm still doing a little bit, but January, February will be completely out. I also am a registered dog walker and sitter, so I do dog walking as well. And then I also, in my spare time, not that I have a lot of it, I also actually do write fiction. So I have a few books up on Amazon. It's science fiction and fantasy fiction. So I do a number of things. I used to work for London Probation Services, and I worked in the drugs department. And so we were basically helping people with drug problems either stay out of prison and get onto referral clean schemes, or people that were just coming out of prison that were alcoholics or were drug users. We were trying to work with them to keep them off the stuff. But working in an office in 9 to 5, day in, day out, was utterly soul destroying. So I gave that up. And so now I just do a higgledy-piggledy mismatch of loads of different stuff just to bring in enough money to survive. Sarah is saying she loves Highland cattle. Of course, I think everybody loves Highland cattle, don't they? We did see some in Scotland as well, and they were amazing just watching out in the wilds. And for anybody else that watches the Swedish homestead, they have Highland cattle, and he's just did a video on them the other day, and they just look divine. Emacta says, I thought you were going to say registered nurse, as I always thought you were a nurse. Well, in a different life, I actually did start training as a nurse. To be fair, I think I watched too much Holby City, and it kind of glamorized nursing for me. So I did a year at university in zoology, and I then quit, and then I went and started a nursing degree. And with the nursing degrees, you get thrown in the deep end. So there's no doing theory for 3 years. You do theory for 6 weeks, and then you're on the wards for 6 weeks. So I did about 6 months nursing. I worked as a theatre endoscopy nurse, so I worked on an outpatients endoscopy ward, doing colonoscopies, gastroscopies, and things. Well, not doing them, but being in theatre, being with patients, and that sort of thing. And I liked the job, and I was good at the job. But then they transferred me to a mental health ward, and it wasn't just any mental health ward. On my, on my day where I went to look round. They basically said, here are the buzzers at either end of the corridor. If you get trapped in here with any of these patient doors open, run to a buzzer, try and get their door shut. There were security people on both ends of the ward with like big batons and things. And they gave me absolutely no support at all. And I thought, I can't do this. you know, I've only been training as a nurse for a few months, and they want to put me down here, and I don't feel supported at all. So I made the decision to leave. I went back and finished my zoology degree, and then I went off and travelled the world for a little bit, and that's how I ended up where I am. So you were kind of right. I was a little bit of a nurse for a while. Ali Anderson says, what are my books called? If you just go to Amazon and look up Jeff Wakeling, you will come across them. There's several series. I don't really speak about it that much because I prefer the homesteading stuff. But yeah, they're sci-fi and fantasy, so you can look them up if you like. Jeff says, Coon pigs are great. They have Persian cat faces and are said to be very friendly. There's quite a lot of Coon pigs in the UK actually. I think they were kind of, there was the potbelly pig and the coon pig became two really popular pet pig species. So there are quite a lot of them. Patrick says, I hope you have never cut a nest out of a tree. With being a gardener, I get so many baby birds each year. Because of this, I get approximately 2,000 birds each year. No, I'm really, really careful. So for farmers, but basically Patrick is there talking about accidentally cutting bird nests out of trees and hedges and things. So we have the land, and I'm not registered as a basic payment on the basic payment scheme as a farmer. But from the basic payment scheme as a farmer, you're not allowed to actually cut or prune anything from between the end of March to September, and it's to protect bird species. And even though I don't have the basic payment scheme, I also do not touch foliage and trees and things at that time. And the same as a gardener. If a client asks me to cut a hedge in June, I won't cut the hedge because I'm looking out for the wildlife, you know. So with my ongoing clients, I always make sure I do all my pruning, and I think any gardener needs to be aware of what's going on in their garden, because you want birds to come in, right, and to eat the bugs and just to create the nice environment. So you've got to be careful, and having spring watch in your own garden is amazing. So you've got to be really, really careful about not cutting those nests out. Sarah is saying, I'd love a small holding, no idea how to make it an affordable reality. It's tough. It really is tough. And this is why I've started in a back garden. There is a lot you can do in a back garden. Obviously, I've got the chickens, I've got quails. We were talking earlier how you can do rabbits because they're really easy and simple and low noise to do in an urban environment. You can grow a lot of veggies at home. If you take out the lawn and put in a vegetable patch, you can grow a lot. Space is a problem, I agree, and I'm very fortunate to have this acreage that I've been inherited from my grandfather. Without it, I wouldn't even have a hope in hell of probably buying a small holding one day. It is the dream, but I would say if it is your dream and you are thinking about doing it, start in your garden, because you can do a lot in a small space. Even if you're just growing, salads, even if your aim is just to try and grow salads to eat every day, you can do that at home. Windowsill boxes, raised beds, you can have some chickens or some quail if you're worried about the noise, rabbits. So there's lots of little things you can do in a small space. So M Actor, I used to work for mental health. It's a shame how patients and staff are treated. Yeah, I completely agree, M Actor. The mental health system in this country has gone to pot, as everything else has. Alana is saying zoology is definitely better than nursing. I spent 15 years working in the NHS. There you go. So Alana knows what she's talking about. And there's no way I could have been a nurse. I know. And I felt really bad for leaving as well, because the nurses I worked with were amazing. They were really amazing women that had put their lives into this. But they were just getting treated so badly. It was terrible. Oh, Ali, you didn't need to do that, but thank you very much. So Ali just said she bought one of my books. You didn't need to do that. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. It's a very different side to homesteading and farming. I'm going to close this down. It's very nice now. The smell of dog poo has disappeared. And look, my tea has gone almost completely cold. I'm still loving my chicken cup. They're still in Robert Dyer's. So if you do want one, they're in Robert Dyer's. Which one did you get, Ali? The one I'm working on at the moment is the 4th book for the Renovo series. So if you bought that one, there is another book in the offing. It's actually almost completely done. Inside Evil. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's a fantasy series. So that series is complete as well. So you can always, if you like the first one, you can go through and read the rest. So guys, we've been going for an hour and a quarter. So I think if there are no more questions, I'll probably wind it down for today. What's next week? Next week I should be around, so we hopefully will have another Saturday night live stream next Saturday. And tomorrow will be Small Holding Diaries, although we probably won't have 7 days because obviously I was away for a few days. And then we've got Monday Magic, so make sure you don't miss Monday Magic coming on Monday because it's all about Scotland. So if there's no more questions, I will say a good night. So bye, Charlie. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for all of you for stopping by the live stream tonight. It's been really, really great to talk to you and just chat. Yeah, more than an hour already. So I will see you all again soon. If you are on Facebook, by the way, please do come across and join the Brimwood Farm community group because we're chatting on there all week. I haven't been on there so much this week because I've been away and been busy. But there's lots of guys like Alana and Jeff are on there. So we've been chatting. So take care, all of you. Night, and I will see you again very, very soon, I hope. Bye-bye.